Yeah, we used to, but if it does, I'll just say, yeah.
If everybody's,
You ready, Jim?
it's coming, I think we're ready.
You ready?
So,
We'll call the meeting for June 16th, the Planning Commission to order. Can I have roll call, please, and then minutes?
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Crompton?
Here.
Mr. Heath?
Here.
Mr. Kella?
Here.
Mr. Perez? Mr. Dillon?
Here.
Mr. Roussenelis?
Here. Next, we have, do we have a motion for approval of minutes?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Mr. Heath?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Roussenelis?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye. Okay, Jim, what do you got for us?
so first on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda. Anyone speaking on an agenda item is entitled to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. It is not a question and answer period, and staff and the Plan Commission do not generally respond to public comments. Anyone wanting to speak who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the Plan Commission shall be called to order by the presiding officer and may forfeit the opportunity to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on agenda items? Seeing none, we could move to old business for public hearing. We have none. And moving on to new business. First off, Z0122, Z0222, and Z0322. These are like cleanup ordinances for us that we would like to bring forward at some time. They are not ready again, so city staff has withdrawn these at this time, so there's no motion necessary. You're likely to see these in the future, but they're just not ready at this point, so.
Okay.
We withdrew those. Next item is A722, annexation of 2618 South Chicago Street, classification I-1 light industrial zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. The public notice sign for this one went up late, so to be safe, city staff and the petitioner both agree that they'll just wait until July to make sure that that public notice sign was properly up for the correct amount of time. So a tabling order for this would be in order.
Motion to table A-7-22.
Motion to table?
Second.
All those in, roll call?
Mr. Heath?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Roussenelis?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Next order of business would be P322, extraterritorial review of a preliminary plat of Denler subdivision, and FP322, extraterritorial review of a final plat of Denler subdivision. Under general information, the applicant is KJG LLC. Their status of the applicant, they're the attorney for the petitioner. Property owner and developer is Cherry Hill I-80 LLC. Requested action is approval of a preliminary plat and final plat. Purpose is to allow for a 5-lot industrial development. Existing zoning is unincorporated Will County I-2 General Industrial. Location is 20502 South Cherry Hill Road. Size is 18.15 acres. Existing land use is industrial. Under surrounding land use and zoning, to the north is agricultural and county zoning A1. To the south is Interstate I-80 right-of-way and industrial commercial, and that's County C6, County C3, and County I-2 and County A1 zoning. To the east is agricultural, New Lenox, Village of New Lenox, R2A, single-family residential district. To the west is agricultural undeveloped, and that is zone County C3. Under site history, there are no previous cases for this site filed with the city of Joliet. The property in question is located in unincorporated Will County, within 1.5 miles of the Joliet city limits, and is subject to the city's extraterritorial review. Will County Board approved a county special use permit for a planned unit development at this site in May 2021, subject to several conditions, and that's Will County case number ZC 20069. This approval included numerous variations from the Will County subdivision ordinance, which are listed on the plats. Final approval of the preliminary plat by the Will County Land Use and Development Committee is scheduled for July 2022. Under special information, the petitioner seeks approval of a preliminary and final plat for an industrial development located in unincorporated Will County. The subdivision creates 5 lots, including 4 buildable lots and 1 outlot for detention on an 18-acre site. Lot 1 is 5.14 acres and contains an existing 15,000 square foot industrial building used for the property owner's asphalt and concrete construction businesses. The owner intends to maintain ownership of Lot 1 and Lot 2, which is 2 acres for their 2 companies. Lots 3 and 4, which are 5 and 4 acres respectively, are buildable lots which the owner intends to sell. The owner has identified the intended users for the lots as small fabricators, assemblers, or manufacturers, and sellers of heavy equipment. The property is bordered on the south by Interstate 80 and on the east by the Cherry Hill Road I-80 overpass. Entry to the property is from a private access drive that splits off of Cherry Hill Road approximately 600 feet to the north of the subject property. This drive, shown as Denler Drive on the plat, currently ends west of the existing building and will be extended further west to serve all buildable lots. Stormwater detention is provided by a proposed basin on Outlot A and an existing basin on Lot 1. An owners association comprised of all property owners in the subdivision will be responsible for the maintenance of the private road and the detention areas. Subdivisions undergoing extraterritorial review are subject to all requirements of the subdivision regulations, including those for public improvements. Section 1.14 of the regulations outlines the procedure and conditions for granting variances from any of these requirements. Through this process, the petitioner is requesting variances from certain improvements, including a variance to remove the requirement for the establishment of a performance bond or escrow fund. According to the petitioner, the property has a unique configuration with the lack of frontage along Cherry Hill Road and its location next to the Cherry Hill Road I-80 overpass, which the petitioner states would make public improvements along the road impractical. Petitioner also highlights the unlikelihood of annexation of the property into the city. Therefore, the petitioner requests that the subdivision be allowed to develop in accordance with Will County subdivision standards and that no escrow account be required for future improvements. The full letter for petition for variation is attached. Section 1.14 of the subdivision regulations is also attached. City administration does not support a variation to remove the requirement for public improvements. City is requesting establishment of an escrow fund for future improvements, including a half-road improvement to Cherry Hill Road right-of-way adjacent to the eastern edge of the property. This request and these improvements are consistent with the application of the city's subdivision regulations and South Side Comprehensive Plan. Public Utilities Department has no concerns with the proposed subdivision at this time. If the subdivision were to annex into the city of Joliet in the future, water and sewer connection requirements would apply at that time, and that concludes our staff report.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have the petitioner on hand?
Good afternoon. Tom Osterberger. I'm one of the attorneys for the applicant, 111 North Ottawa Street, Joliet, Illinois.
I'm sorry, I guess I gotta swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I always do.
I figured.
So I agree. The extraterritorial review is part of the statute. I'm sure that staff hates to see it when it comes their way because they got to review it. They're supposed to review it as if it's coming in. And then oftentimes on a project, you may have a couple of acres or something, and it might come in. When the legislature passed that law and said, hey, Joliet has a right to enforce their subdivision regs on you, they were thinking stuff is going to come in. Joliet's going to inherit it. As you could see, this is a strip that was orphaned on the north side of when Route 80 went through. IDOT, when Cherry Hill was put in there, created enough right-of-way, so this doesn't even have frontage. Dick Kavanaugh in my office negotiated with the county and got an IDOT and got that road put in that right-of-way so that this actually had access. Because if you cut off access, you owe them for the rest of the property. So it's a little unique, but more importantly, the likelihood of this ever going into Joliet is almost non-existent. The only way, and I don't, Jim, do you have your map showing the corporate limits?
Right there in that light blue is where our city limits are, close to it.
Right, so what would happen is if you see at Cherry Hill Road in the corner of, on the south side, southwest portion there at 80 and Cherry Hill Road, that piece would have to come in, and then you'd have to jump over and take this in. And, but these people would wanna have to go in. And there's not a reason for them to do that unless they need something. And they're already gonna have sewer and water, they're gonna have a private road. And if you go to the north, you have to go way north through houses and over to, on the north side of the highway, as Jim said, Crest Hill comes up on the east side. So we've, Crest Hill, New Lenox.
Yeah, you had me confused there
Yeah.
for a second.
I mean, New Lenox could develop that piece and have to improve the road, but it's just not gonna happen. So our request is twofold. Within the subdivision, we are saying to Joliet, we went to the county, they have a code that's inconsistent. Say, for example, the roadway. Gutter, back-to-back, storm. Well, we already have a roadway there where we have one gutter, not another, because it drains into a ditch and we have some storm. But to make a private road up to city standards, when the city of Joliet's never gonna have to maintain it, nor is it probably ever gonna be in the city. Even if it went into the city, it'd be a private road. So we're asking that you guys approve all of the variances so that we can develop the way the county would let us, including their variances. That is, to me, the easier decision. The additional request we're making, and I've talked to Chris Regis and we've dealt with Greg Ruddy. What they're saying is, look, at some point, the small amount of frontage here on Cherry Hill, if everybody else develops, there's a gap there. And we want money to pay if it develops. And our response is, it's never gonna come in, so the money will sit there. It's county, so you don't have jurisdiction. And look, I have a huge amount of respect for Greg and the street department. They wanna make sure we don't have 80, 90% of a road and then a gap. But it could never come in. If you go to the property north, if somehow, some way, it came in to develop, well, Joliet would say, hey, look, you wanna come in, you gotta improve it all the way. Now that might seem unfair that we got some free ride, but it's not gonna happen. And I hate that we're talking about $150,000, $180,000. I hate to see it sitting there. So we're asking that that not be imposed. Whatever the county makes us do, we have to do. So I see those kind of as two different decisions, same request for variance. Within the sub, I'm bagging. It just doesn't seem like there's a reason to be up to city standard. Staff's taking the line saying, hey, if you're coming to, if we get to review it, we want you to do it our way. And then the roadway. And if we have to put up a bond, obviously, I'll work out some agreement like we do on all other projects within the city, but it just doesn't seem to make sense. So those are our requests.
I have some questions, Tom. You
Yeah.
represent your client very well, I gotta say. As a lawyer, you sound pretty good. The bond, you guys get, when this money sits there, like you're saying, that they have to sit, the money sits there, is there interest on that you guys, that we have to pay, or everybody
No,
accumulates?
it's brutal. So in theory, the city would accept the bond, but nobody does bonds anymore. They're too expensive. So then you get a letter of credit. And so to get a letter of credit, if they'll accept it, and I'm not sure what the city's position is, but it sits there. And so it's $150,000. It'll sit there and we don't get any interest on it, yet it's tied up. It's
Okay.
terrible.
What's the conditions that the Will County wanted you to do?
Within the sub, I'll take the street as example. Will County says, sure, the way your drainage is, we'll allow the street to be a little bit this way. We won't require 2 curbs, we can drain. Joliet says no.
They're doing a sheet flow, I take it, or an
Yeah,
angle?
yeah,
Okay.
and that's how it is now. I mean, the roadway you see,
Yeah,
Mr.
I can see
Dendler
it.
put in to get there, and we're trying to have a similar road. And Rich Bain, the project engineer, is here. He can speak to any differences. But again, the key is that if Joliet, we're gonna have to take it over someday, I get it, this is a private road. Joliet's never taken, even if we came in, Joliet would say, no, you keep the road. They don't wanna plow that thing. They don't wanna maintain it.
We've done that many times, Tom. We're taking stuff in at the last minute and,
Yeah, I mean, this is.
now we're
this is-
responsible for everything.
Yeah, no, I get it, and that's why I respect where Greg's going with that bond. But within this is private, gonna be private maintenance. It has been, this is just I can't give you the lineal footage, but the road extension is just a bit more than what it is currently.
Here's my, because I don't know what the road was made of. I know what the construction of. I mean, we have standards for a reason for trucks.
Yeah.
You'll have trucks on this and it tears the road up, but that's not our problem since we're not doing it. But why are we even talking about this since this is Will County's not Joliet?
So it's a requirement of our subdivision regulations that property within a mile and a half that want to subdivide their property go through our process as well and are required to meet, our public improvement requirements and other aspects of our subdivision regulations. We don't see them very often, in my 32 years here, we've maybe done 2 of them. So, they're always unusual, the way I remember them, because there's this disconnect. But, again, the subregs were established that way with the thought that someday this would be part of the city of Joliet. And rather than chase them at that point, it's better to get those improvements up front.
Yeah, and remember, the statute says we have to come here, and then you guys passed your own ordinance said, when we review, some other communities say staff will review it and tell you, you guys say you go through the whole process.
Did a good job for your client, not kidding, Tom. I know Joliet too, we're from 30 years and, okay, so 15 years from now, they come into the city or something happens, most of us won't be here. The people that come, I don't know anything about it. If we don't even have the same staff, I don't know anything about it. We just had that a couple months ago about something else, about 6 months ago. And then everybody's confused because nobody remembers. And I understand what Jim's saying is better to do it now ahead of time than not. And it's basically the staff is saying we stay with the recommendations that would have been built around there. You guys, did they know about it when they bought the property, want to do all this stuff?
Well, when we first developed, we didn't have to go through this process. And as Jim said, I'm surprised the extent of it. It almost never happens because the first one was just development under a PUD. But look, part of the other thing is you don't give up control. If 20 years from now, let's say, for example, all the wells go out and they say, gosh, we have to get into the city, and they approach Jim's successor. Well, that person says, we're not going to let you in and hook up to sewer and water unless. So you have complete control. You cannot get stuck with this subdivision unless there's something you want to negotiate in the future. I mean, you don't do an annexation without an annexation agreement.
That's true, Tom, and I'm thinking in the future, let's say in 15 years or 20 years, the well goes dry, and you have to come in. And I know you're a lawyer, but from a business point of view, the cost of what it costs to do a road or any improvements, they may, if you put the money up ahead of time. I remember what I said 30 years ago, I think it was $1 million for a mile, 1-lane mile, and it's way above that now.
Oh, no, look, I understand, but here's my point. If I were running the city, I would say, you need city sewer and water, you pay for it, you bring it onto the highway. However, this road is private. It's not gonna be dedicated. Our plows, I don't know that the city could engineer this in order to be a road which complied with your standards. The cul-de-sac would be too long. You would never take it. You would never take it. You wouldn't want it. And you don't have to have it. There are other private roads. I mean, look at some of the CenterPoint operations, a lot of private roads.
We gave them the roads and they made them build them, yeah. They didn't get it for nothing.
No, I'm just saying in terms of maintenance, a bunch of them are private.
We gave over roadway rights, told them, hey, you maintain it. That was part of the agreement of the deal.
Yeah.
That went on it's been going on for over 20 years at this point.
Yeah, no, I understand. Rich, can you?
Where's the subdivision that's within a mile and a half of this?
Well, you go across the highway, you're right there, right?
You could go back to our zoning map, see a Cherry Hill and New Lenox Road, Haven Avenue. That's the Cherry Hill Business Park down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the real request is not that we don't want to comply. So this is Rich Vane. He's the engineer for the project. You just swear me in.
Oh, yeah. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but truth. It's all you got.
I do.
So I guess the only question, Richard, what we're really talking about is having to comply with some standards, which maybe we can't comply with, given what's there already, because we're looking to do the whole thing, and there's already an existing road. And number two, the additional cost to do something which might not really be a benefit to the city ever, obviously. So we're talking storm, road width, correct?
So just in general, can you bring up one of the plans? Yeah, okay, great. You can't even see it, but our access is way north here and goes into Cherry Hill Road like that.
Okay.
So this curve can never comply with road requirements because they require a softer curve. There's no property to do it in.
What kind of curve is there that you're saying requires a softer curve?
So the county requirements, that's one of the reasons we got a county variance for the road, because the curve is too sharp. And so the city would have the same issue, you know, with the road design and geometry, plus you have the road makeup. So what happens is that property goes like this down to the farm field to the north. Just goes. So I back pitched the road so that we could get all the drainage into the detention pond and avoid spilling over into the farm field. So that's not per city or county codes, but the county realized the value of it, so they approved a variance for us. So those kinds of things.
And that's existing, correct?
Yeah, so that's existing design that he has for his existing business out there. So he basically is just trying to do the same kind of thing, a couple more lots over.
Well, and not only that though, Rich, the existing road is part of the subdivision, so that wouldn't even comply. And
Right.
yet with the county, given, and you don't see it much, you don't think about it much, because the access is over Cherry Hill, but given the county, it's acceptable. I mean, it's really a unique situation, and I know what you're saying. It's great that I get up here and say, oh, don't worry, it's never gonna happen. But again, the city doesn't have to ever accept it, and I do view the bonding for Cherry Hill different than the internal requirements.
And how much is this bond you're talking about? I mean, it all boils down to money.
Well, the bond for the Cherry Hill Road is $150,000. But I'm actually more worried about the variances inside, because we can't build a subdivision. It stops. And I understand staff, they're saying, gosh, do it our way, but we literally can't.
Well, yeah, I mean, we pay these people to monitor this stuff, to
They're like a big thorn.
research. I mean, they get good pay to make sure that you better protect the city here. And when they're saying, hey, we really just want to keep uniformity of what we have, because the next person comes around and says, well, you waived it for them, then you should waive it for us.
But I will say that when we get into strange, and I know Jim could spout off a few of them. When we get into strange situations, often the city says, that's a private road. We're not going there. We're not taking it. We're not, and you see it, and you see it in residential and in industrial. So.
Oh, we've done a lot of things over the years. I'm sorry, I've taken, anybody else have some questions from the commissioners here? Does anybody else want to ask a
I
question?
got one question.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I would assume when they develop each lot, it'll have a septic and well on each lot. Is it their size for that, or is there one communal septic well?
We're doing one on each, right? Yeah.
Good question. Separate well for each site, huh? Are there any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, does somebody want to make a motion on this?
So moved.
Second. So
Okay,
that
mo-
was
motions for what?
without the variances, that you made the motion
You know,
To approve the variance
to approve the variances as asked, or,
as asked, yes.
okay.
excuse me, so you're saying we keep as the variances we have?
No, I don't have it in front of me,
To waive the public improvement requirements. You're,
I'm motioning to approve to waive the public improvement requirements for FP-3-22.
So we're waiving what the staff wants to do and going with what they'd like to do, right?
Waiving
The bond.
the bond and
And
requirement.
allowing for the variances the county will permit.
That's what I was trying to say, thank you.
And there was a
That's,
second.
You're gonna take those together or separately, P322 and FP322?
Might as well
I can
take
do
them together.
Yeah, yeah, motion is for P322 and FP3-22.
Well, there was a motion, there was a second. Can I have a roll call then?
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Roosevelt?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Mr. Heath?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Boy, Tom, you speak well, I'm not kidding. And I'd love to do it, but there's a reason why we hire these people and pay these people, and they make a recommendation to keep it, and I understand the recommendation about roads. And I still think in 20 years' time, you'll be probably dead, I'll be dead, and then they'll be arguing who's gonna pay for the road. I can't, no.
So motion passes with 5-1 vote. It'll go to city council, the second meeting in July with, or I'm sorry, that one goes to the first meeting in July, to city council with the recommendation for approval with the recommendation for the variances.
Next, we got.
Next we got is Z522, reclassification of 16.47 acres located at 1750 West Patterson Road from ITC Intermodal Terminal Industrial Park to ITB Intermodal Terminal Transportation Equipment Zoning District. Under general information, the applicant owner is Swift Transportation Company of Arizona LLC. The requested action is approval of a zoning reclassification. Purpose is to provide appropriate zoning for proposed use. Existing zoning is ITC, the Intermodal Terminal Industrial Park zoning, and the proposed zoning, again, is the ITB Intermodal Terminal Transportation Equipment. Location is 1750 West Patterson Road. Size is 16.47 acres. The existing land use is vacant industrial. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is industrial Will County I-3 intensive industrial. To the south is industrial ITC. To the east is an undeveloped Will County A1 agricultural. To the west is industrial ITC. Under site history, the subject site was annexed and zoned ITC in October 2013 as part of a larger center point annexation that included the Port of Will County operations on the west side of Patterson Road and allowed the development of a railed-based bulk commodity logistics facility on the east side of Patterson Road. The original concept plan for the overall area indicated a proposed warehouse on the subject site. Site is currently undeveloped. Under special information, the petitioner Swift Transportation Company is requesting approval of a zoning reclassification from ITB to obtain appropriate zoning for the parking and storage of cargo containers on chassis. Swift Transportation, a full truckload carrier, supports Union Pacific's Global 4 terminal within Centerpoint Intermodal Center. The company recently purchased the subject property and wishes to develop the site as parking for their trailers. Conceptual site plan they provided includes approximately 350 trailer parking spaces. Proposed storm detention is provided north of the parking area and in the southwest corner of the site. Patterson Road is a private road from Laraway Road at the south up to the north property line of the subject site. It was vacated at the time of annexation to create a private road for the intermodal development in the area. Turnaround area was created to serve the public portion of Patterson Road north of the site. Proposed ingress-egress for the trailer parking areas located near this turnaround at the north end of the property. Trucks would access the site from the public portion of Patterson Road by way of Brandon Road. The proposed use complies with the ITB zoning ordinance. All public improvements will be required as per the subdivision regulations, the Public Works and Utilities Departments at the time of development. A landscape plan would need to be submitted and approved as part of the future development plans. Development impact fees will be required, and that concludes our staff report.
Thank you, Jim. We get the petitioner on hand?
Tom Osterberger, 111 North Ottawa Street.
You're still sworn in.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, Jim is right on this one. This is just simply a transferring in between the two different uses on the IT. The main difference is currently it proposes a building, we have to switch to the other without. Swift does a lot of work at the UP. They're looking to have a trailer yard. These aren't containers, they're on chassis. You only have so much time to be in the intermodal and they run out of time. So the trucks would be here. The interesting thing is not that it should matter, given that really it's about as intense a use surrounding this as you could get, but probably less traffic as a yard here than there would be if there was a building. So just looking for approval.
Quick question, you guys could put a fence around it to protect your property? Not that it makes a difference,
So we have
I'm just
Bob
curious.
Schultz. Why don't you come up, Bob? Bob is the operations manager for Swift regionally.
Usually, yes, there will be
I would-
fencing around, and
yeah.
we want the lot secured. It's-
I would want to.
Yeah.
I don't
there's
trust anybody
definitely
breaking
that.
in.
I don't know whether there'll be physical security there, somebody on site, whether it'll be video cameras, whatever, but yeah, all our lots are secured, so.
Just curious. Any questions from the commissioner?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If I heard correctly, are they gonna access this off of Brandon and not?
Yeah, so the north of Laraway was vacated, so this would go Brandon to down from the north.
So,
Yeah,
the long way around?
yes, the long way. I don't know the history behind that vacation, but
They said Brandon Road in the report.
Yeah, and then, would the road have to be improved just where the site is that correct? Is that part of it? Are you gonna have to
it's
improve the
within
road?
the city, so the site development permit requirements and access permit are gonna govern that.
Okay.
But I don't think there'll be any extensive, and given the use, whatever it is, X number of day, I don't think it'll be an issue.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the public? Do we have a motion for Z-5-22?
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Rusnellis?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Mr. Heath?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Moving on to the next item is old new business, not for final action or recommendation. We have none. Under next section is public comments. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. It's not a question and answer period, and staff and the Plan Commission do not generally respond to public comments. Please note, speakers who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the Plan Commission shall be called to order by the presiding officer and may forfeit the opportunity to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on non-agenda items?
Well, I would like to say something, Jim, I should have said in the beginning, I forgot to mention, we'd like to welcome Jason Heath to the commission board. He's just been appointed. That's
Yes.
it.
Thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, yeah. I didn't catch that earlier. And so that could possibly lead us to adjournment if,
Oh, good. Motion, aye. Second, yeah. John, second. All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Good job. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Total Info Traffic.